What's up, guys? I'm back. Had an amazing vacation. Been in the gym, putting in the work, getting stronger every single day. And I'll have fight news soon. But in the fight game, there's a lot going on right now. We just had UFC Noche at the Spear with Sean O'Malley and Marab. Marab had an amazing performance. But there's always a new fighter. There's always a new champion. This guy's the best. That guy's the best. And oftentimes we forget about the history of these fighters and we forget about at the time this guy was the absolute beast, right? And so today we're going to talk about the best heavyweight to ever live. There's been people like Fedor, an amazing heavyweight. There's been guys like, even Brock Lesnar, who was an incredible heavyweight for the time and for what he was able to accomplish. There's been great heavyweights like Junior Dos Santos, like Cain Velasquez, Stipe Miocic. This guy has beat them all. This guy's beat them all except for Fedor and Brock Lesnar. And we're talking about Francis Ngannou, the best heavyweight ever in mixed martial arts. I think it's funny how we're so quick to forget. Francis leaves, he goes to PFL to get the bag. He goes and gets the fight with Tyson Fury, goes out there, destroys him, wrecks him, but you still have people saying that he's ducking Jon Jones, he's ducking this, ducking that. Francis Ngannou is the best heavyweight we've ever seen in MMA. Don't get it twisted. Just because he got knocked out by AJ, that doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything at all. You play out in the rain long enough, you're gonna get wet. So we never seen Francis get knocked out in MMA. We never seen Francis get brutalized in MMA. He goes to boxing. He fights the best boxers right off the bat. He's fighting Tyson Fury. He's fighting Anthony Joshua, and he beat Tyson Fury, So Francis Ngannou, when you look at his resume, he is the best heavyweight we've ever seen. He knocked out Cain Velasquez. He knocked out Junior Dos Santos. He knocked out Stipe Miocic, who hasn't fought since, who's going to fight Jon Jones next. He knocked out Andre Arlovski. He knocked out Alistair Overeem, which Alistair Overeem was a monster. Uberine, they called him. He beat Badr Hari. Alistair Overeem beat Badr Hari, who, if you guys don't know, Badr Hari was an incredible kickboxer back in the day. And Francis Ngannou comes in there, not much kickboxing experience, knocks him out. This guy's a different type of guy, and he's the best heavyweight. But we have a very, very interesting fight coming up with Francis Ngannou and Renan Ferreira. This is what I'm talking about. A lot of you guys who are new to MMA don't understand that the UFC is not the only game in town. There's great fighters all over the world. There's guys that you've never heard of. There's guys that you'll never see who are incredible fighters, and Renan Ferreira is an example of that. Renan Ferreira, I believe he's probably the best heavyweight out other than Jon Jones. You have Jon Jones, Renan Ferreira, Tom Aspinall, those are interesting matchups. And Alexander Volkov. These are interesting matchups. And then Ferreira is out here knocking out champions. He's knocking everybody out, beating good guys. He fought Fabricio Verdun. He fought Ryan Bader. He's beat a lot of good guys. He really, really has. And he is like a 6'7" giant dude, a true heavyweight, So this is a very interesting fight, Renan Ferreira versus Francis Ngannou. I believe that Francis is going to go out there and knock him out, but I think it's going to be one of his hardest fights yet to date because Renan Ferreira is a beast. Francis is coming into this fight with a lot on his plate. He just got knocked out by Anthony Joshua, his first time ever getting knocked out. A lot of people want to see him lose. If he were to lose, then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you're a bum. He was never that good." Blah blah blah. They just forget his whole catalog of work. His whole amazing catalog that he has. One of the best resumes, actually the best resume we've ever seen in heavyweight history. So there's a lot going on, a lot on his shoulders for this fight. Not only that, his son passed away. Rest in peace. His son passed away, and this is a fight where he's coming back and he's fighting, to honor his son. So that's gonna be a scary, scary fight for Renan Ferreira. It's gonna be a very interesting matchup, to say the least. But Renan Ferreira, this is a true heavyweight championship fight. Sometimes you have heavyweights and they're really not that big, or you have heavyweights and it's just like a guy who should be a middleweight, but he's just kind of sloppy. Both of these guys could never make 205. Both these guys are giants. I know some people who train with Francis, and they say Francis is like 290 pounds solid with abs and muscles just popping off. Renan Ferreira, I've never seen him in person. I've never met him. I don't know anybody who trains with him, but the dude's a giant fighter, a true heavyweight, a Brazilian heavyweight, And not only that, he's super athletic. He's not sloppy or fat or anything like that at all. He's a super athlete, He has the X factor, the same X factor that Francis has. Francis has, even when he came into the game, he didn't have great technique, right? But he has something that other people don't have. He has incredible power and strength, that's on a different level, that turns into something else, and that's something that really needs to be understood. When you have a crazy amount of power, but when you have an incredible will to win and a desire and a crazy amount of power, that is something. And now we have like two giants coming together to just clash. And I think this is the first time Francis is fighting somebody this big, So this is going to be an incredible fight. I'm really, really excited for this fight. I think this is the fight. This fight and Jon Jones's fight against Stipe, these are the fights, And if Francis wins, I want to see him fight Jon Jones. Renan Ferreira knocked out Jon Jones's teammate, and Jon Jones came to him and he was like, "You have a bright future in this game." Renan's a real dog. He's a beast. He's someone that has to be respected. And we have, as the MMA community, a lot of the new people coming into the sport, because I was there too. When I started watching MMA back in the day, I was like, I thought UFC was the only show. I thought, if you're not in UFC, you're not good. But no, then you start seeing Pride. Then you start seeing Bellator. I started watching Bellator. Mike Chandler fought Eddie Alvarez, and it was one of the best fights I ever seen in my life. And I was like, damn, these dudes are good, I was watching WEC. WEC had, still to this day, WEC was the best show. WEC was the best show. They had the best fights. Donald Cerrone versus Benson Henderson the first time. Go watch that fight. Donald Cerrone versus Benson Henderson 2. Watch that fight. Benson Henderson versus Anthony Pettis. Watch that fight. These are incredible fights. Jose Aldo versus Uriah Faber. These are old school fights, real fights. But it just goes to my point, Strikeforce. When Strikeforce was there, you had guys saying, "Oh, these guys couldn't beat the UFC guys." When the Strikeforce guys came over to UFC, they were running it. How many guys from Strikeforce became champion? Luke Rocco, Daniel Cormier, some of the guys who were the best fighters in the sport. So, and furthermore, look at Rising, right? Yuri Prohaska came from Rising. He became a champion. So as MMA fans and people who watch combat sport, you have to respect other organizations. And truly, we have to respect the fighters, because there's great fighters everywhere in the world. And Renan Ferreira is an example of that, So Renan Ferreira fought in LFA, and now he's in PFL. He beat some very good guys. And he is a true heavyweight and a very good fighter. And coming in to this Francis fight, they're going to collide, and it's going to be an incredible fight. I'm getting pumped up just talking about it. This fight's, I believe, like 4 or 5 weeks away now. It's going to be in October. And this is a fight that's really going to put PFL on the map. And I root for the smaller organizations. I root for PFL. I root for Rising. I root for, 1FC, because as a fighter, the better, if all these organizations are doing good, then it's better for us, as fighters. We can have more fights. We can have more options. You know, you can create a career out of it. You know, and that's the thing. You know, so we have to support, as MMA fans, we have to support these other organizations. Don't just support the UFC. You know, watch these other fights. You know, and enjoy them because there's good fights everywhere. Go and watch a local fight. You know, support the local fighters coming up. You know, because it's a hard sport and it takes a lot. You know, it takes a lot mentally, physically, spiritually to do this. And I'm so excited for this fight. If Francis wins, I want to see the Jon Jones fight. They need to make it happen. And I think it will happen. You know, Stipe Miocic has not fought since the Francis Ngannou fight. That's how much of a devastating force this guy is. You know, it's been like 3-4 years now. Stipe hasn't fought since. You know, it was a brutal knockout, a ruthless, brutal knockout that Francis did. You know, the guy's a beast. You know, it's a straight dog. You know, and two dogs are coming together. Now look at Francis's resume. You know, nobody has ever made. Look, there's a lot of new MMA fans. So a lot of you guys probably never saw Junior Dos Santos in his prime. Junior Dos Santos in his prime was knocking everybody out. Okay, he knocked out on the first ever UFC fight on Fox TV was Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez. Junior knocked Cain Velasquez out clean. You know, Junior was knocking everybody out. He had incredible boxing, you know, and you would never, ever see Junior Dos Santos turning his back and running from a fight. When he fought Francis Ngannou, he turned his back, ran from the fight, and got hit with a big hook and got knocked out. You know, but that just shows the power of Francis Ngannou. You know what I'm saying? That shows like he's making dudes who are incredible fighters say, nah, fuck that, I'm good. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Look at this one right here. Him knocking out Alistair Overeem. He knocked out Alistair Overeem. I've never seen someone get knocked out and the back of their head hits their back almost. You know what I'm saying? It was insane, especially because Alistair Overeem is a hell of a fighter and a hell of a kickboxer who's been around for a very long time, a dangerous man, you know? So, and of course, the Tyson Fury fight, you know, the Tyson Fury fight, to come in on your first fight as an MMA fighter and fight the #1 boxer, undefeated boxer, heavyweight champion, lineal champion, right? Who knocked out Deontay Wilder, who's beaten a lot of great guys. To come in there on your first fight and drop him, beat his ass, brutalize him, you know, and get robbed, it just shows that Francis Ngannou has something that other people don't have. He has the X factor. He has an aura about him. He has something else, you know. And I'm not glazing, it just is what it is. Certain fighters have this X factor, you know. Conor McGregor on his come up, he had an X factor. And I think this X factor is a combination of extreme focus, desire, and motivation and discipline all coming into one, and it creates this like force, you know, that is a very tangible feeling when you're looking into another fighter's eyes. You know, it's like an aura, you know what I'm saying? That's what Jon Jones has. And you can feel it. You can feel it as a fighter, you can feel it, you know. And it's very interesting. I think Francis has that. You know, you can see it on certain fighters when they're walking to the cage. You know, just the confidence, the energy, the vibe. You know, Alex Pereira has it. You know, there's just a certain feeling. It's an X factor. You know what I'm saying? And Francis has that. But Renan Ferreira also has it. But I think Francis has a little bit more. I think Francis is going to knock him out. Me personally, that's what I think. That's what I see happening. But this fight is the fight. You know, Renan Ferreira, he's knocking out Ryan Bader, who Ryan Bader is a hell of a wrestler, a guy who's been fighting for a very long time, who was a champion. Renan Ferreira knocked him out fast, you know. So, and he's knocked many people out fast. He's hitting people with knees. He's hitting them. He's just a very dynamic striker. When you have someone who's big like that, who's athletic and fast, if they throw a punch or a knee or a kick, it's going to hurt. And if it lands, you can get knocked out very easily. So that's what it is. You have two of these guys gonna go together and collide. Whoever has better defense is probably gonna win this fight. And I'm gonna say Francis has better defense just based on what I've seen in his Tyson Fury fight. And that's what I personally think. I think it's gonna be madness, and I think it's gonna be insane. So, look at the muscles on this dude. Look at the muscles on this man. It's insane, man. This guy's a different animal. He's a different animal, and to me, it would be just, I got Jon Jones absolutely washing, absolutely destroying Stipe Miocic, but I would be very, I don't see Stipe beating someone like Renan Ferreira, and we know Stipe has beaten Francis in the past, but since Francis made the improvements, it's just not there. I think this Stipe fight is going to be very interesting with Jon Jones. And, Jon Jones, for me, when I'm thinking about the Jon Jones versus Francis, I don't see Jones beating Francis. But Jon Jones just has something about him. He's just a different type of guy. He's just a different type of fighter. He really is. And if Francis beats Renan Ferreira, and if Jones beats Stipe, they need to make that fight. That's the biggest fight in MMA history. That's the biggest fight in MMA history. I'll pay $100 for that fight. You know what I'm saying? I would maybe even try to get tickets to that fight, potentially. As long as they're not trying to make it $3K a ticket like they did for the Sphere. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother topic. I feel like UFC is starting to price out the consumer. It's like if you're a UFC fan and you're buying every single pay-per-view, you're going to be paying about $3,000 a year to watch every pay-per-view. If you're going to events, let's say once, twice a year, now that goes up to $4,000. You know what I'm saying? That's expensive to be a sports fan, and now they're making the tickets more expensive and more expensive and more expensive, just more UFC Fight Pass, this, that, it's too much. Then I think I personally would love to see it like back in the day, like when Ali was fighting, just make the fights free, and then sell advertisements, I mean, I don't know why they don't do that. NFL does that, basketball does that. Why wouldn't it work with MMA? I feel like it would work. I feel like it's a no-brainer. But then again, I'm just a fighter. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the ins and outs of the business like that. I know a decent amount about the business, but that's a whole nother tangent. That fight needs to happen. That fight, let's say they did Jones versus Francis on Netflix. Everybody would watch the fight. It would be a cultural event, It'd be a cultural event. But I got Francis winning by knockout against Renan Ferreira. I got Jon Jones winning against Stipe by ground and pound. And I'm so glad to be back. Much love, guys. Stay tuned. I'm dropping videos regularly, and I'm gonna bring you guys into my fight training. Check me out. I'm way stronger. I'm literally getting like way stronger than ever. And I'm very, very excited and motivated to just put on great fights for you guys. I came up with a lot of different conclusions. What is it to be a fighter? What do the fans want to see? And have a new resolve. And I'm very, very excited to get back in the cage and just put on incredible fights for you guys, win or lose, And yeah, much love. Hit that like button. And I'm gonna bring you guys into my world as a fighter and show you what it is. Much love, guys. Peace. See you soon.